Nobody wants a personal trainer. Nobody wants an accountant. Nobody wants a doctor. What they want is they want to pay less money in their taxes. What they want is to look better with their shirt off. What they want is improved health markers.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to the Better Than Rich Show. I'm your host today, Mike Abramowitz, and I am here with Sean Garner. Welcome to the Better Than Rich Show podcast, brother.
Mike, thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. I'm excited to dive into all the things for the audience today.
Well, I am looking forward to the convo because you are an expert at a lot of things that the guy in the van and the home services space really needs. Everything from SEO optimization and website design and marketing automations and everything from the story and the funnel and ranking on Google. I mean, you have a tremendous bio, a lot of experience in the space. So really looking forward to bringing your expertise to the show today. So thanks again for being here, man.
No, thank you. And I'm very excited for this specifically because who we get to talk to today is who I'm passionate about. The local service-based business, the guy that's, like you said, working the van, working the truck, and is just trying to provide for his family. And he's unfortunately now having to compete against some really, really big brands. So what can somebody like that do to stand out online and dominate the industry? So let's help him out.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start there? This season, specifically season 4, has only been focused on helping these home services, local service businesses, because we've helped a lot of other businesses. We're 250 to 300 episodes in. We've had a lot of content, but that guy specifically, if you think about a home service, individuals like running a roofing company, or they're running a garage door company or outdoor lighting company or a landscape company, something along like these home services, a lot of like the luxury, like high ticket. Don't get me wrong, we still help like the HVAC and the plumbing and the electrical as well, more of the emergencies. Why don't we talk a little bit real quick, hit on this, just in case the uninitiated. What is the significance of telling the story brand of the company, the hero's journey? Break down the hero's journey from how story brand explains it. And then like, if you just want to hit on why is it significant to these guys in their home services space, and also beyond just the website. A lot of times they just listen. It's like, oh, I just need that on my website. Beyond the website, including the website, but beyond that too. Just riff on that.
Yeah, great question. So understanding a clear brand message should be the foundation for all of your marketing. And I think this is what gets lost specifically with smaller local service-based businesses is they don't understand the framework to filter all their marketing through. So things are just getting lost in the noise. So I'm a certified story brand coach and guide. And so the messaging framework that I like to use is the story brand framework. And what this is it is 7 different talking points that you use to filter your message through. And so I think one is just getting some clarity on what it is and what it is not. So a story brand message and the story brand framework is not like you're writing literal copy. What it is the framework that you filter everything through. So very similar, if you go to a graphic designer and you have them to create your brand assets or your brand sheet, it's going to be like a couple logo variations. It's going to be the colors to use, your fonts. Well, you're not going to take that and like put it on the side of your truck or on a billboard. It's going to be the filter that you give to the graphic designer. So when they're creating billboards, truck wraps, social media content, websites, they're going to look through that to make sure it matches up with that. That's what your story brand messaging framework is. It's that same thing, but for the words that you use. And so whenever you're creating those talking points, it follows, like what you said, the hero's journey and the arc of story, but you're not necessarily telling a story and you're not telling your story. I think one of the missed marks that people have with marketing and messaging is they make it all about them. Your customers don't care about you. They don't care that your uncle, started this company with you, 50 years ago, has got all this experience. Their customers have a problem and they're looking for somebody to position themselves as a guide to help them solve the problem. So what those 7 key talking points are with this story brand framework is the first thing is a character. Like I said, it follows the arc of a story. So a story's got to have a character. The character is not the demographics of the customer that you want to look for. They are the character section of your brand script should answer the question, my customers want blank. So from your customer's perspective, I want a roof that doesn't leak. They're not looking for a roofer. They're looking for a roof that doesn't leak. They have something that they want. The second aspect of your brand script is the problem. Your character has a problem. That problem is done at 3 different levels. It's the external, internal, and philosophical. The external is the main problem that your customers deal with as it relates to your products or service. The second level deep is the internal. How does dealing with that problem make them feel? And the third is the philosophical. Why is it just morally wrong that your customers are dealing with this problem? The deeper you go with those problems, that's how you take somebody from being interested whenever you're talking about the external problem, like, okay, cool. Yeah, they know what I'm dealing with, all the way to the philosophical problem is like, that's my guy, that's my girl, that's my company. I want to work with them because they get me. Then after you identify the problem, the third thing that you have to do is you position yourself as the guide for these customers or potential customers. You do that with empathy and authority. Empathy means I understand what it's like to deal with this problem. Authority is we've solved it for hundreds of people just like you. After you've positioned yourself as a guide, you have to then give them a plan. Show them how simple it is to do business with you. Step 1, schedule your consultation. Step 2, we create a custom plan for you. Step 3, happily ever after. We want to show customers, oh, wow, this is really easy to do business with you, because you don't want to assume that it's easy, especially for things like in the trades. It's like, okay, well, now I've got to be at my house from 8 to noon. And then how long is it going to take them to show up? Like, are they going to do the work right then and there? Oversimplify it and show the customer the very simple 3-step plan of what's going to happen so they can get this problem solved. The fifth thing that you have to do is you have to call them to action. If you don't call your customers to action, they will not take action. Most people live in a state of mediocrity and they just sit and they are complacent. So we have to call them to action in a very direct way. We don't want people to contact us, learn more, see how we can help. We want to be very direct. Book your appointment, schedule your consultation, buy now. Be very direct with the thing that the customer needs to do. Don't make them have to work to find out how to give you money. The 6th talking point is the failure. This is all the bad things that they're going to continue to deal with and struggle with if they don't do business with you. And then 7 is the happily ever after. This is the success. All the great things that'll happen if they do business with you. So what you do with creating your brand message, you follow that arc of story, you create those talking points for each one of those 7 elements. So then you have a filter that you can start creating copy for. So when you're writing emails, writing social media content, you write that and then you look at that filter and say, does it sound like this? Because if not, just like with your visual brand identity, if you went and threw up a new billboard design and it doesn't match your brand guidelines, 1, you either missed the mark, or 2, maybe it's time to go back and revisit our brand guidelines or revisit your brand messaging script until you really have that thing solid so it goes through that filter every single time.
They crushed it, man. So succinct, real polished. Nice work, man. I love it. You broke down these 7. I'd like to go into each of them a little deeper.
Yeah.
Now that we have a foundation. So, does it make sense to do it in order, or does it make sense?
I think so, because then you can kind of start to understand the arc of it all. But again, remember, it's not a story and it's not even your story. It's your customer's story that's going on inside of their head. And that's just following that narrative arc. And then you are just positioning yourself as the guide.
Cool. So then let's just go in order. The only reason I ask that is because sometimes, even though there's 7 steps, maybe potentially step 3 might involve, like, we solve the problem with these types of people, might require a little bit more weight, or it's a little bit more nuanced or something like that. So it's okay. Let's go in order. So my customers want blank. You said my customers want to fix their leaky roof, or my customers want, how might someone in the home services know what's the best way for them to figure out what their customers want compared to what they want to sell? Because sometimes these individuals, they're like, oh, this is what we want to offer versus what they actually want. How do they decipher between those two?
Yeah, great question. So whenever we're starting with this is the switch that we have to coach our clients as we're working with them, because this is the foundation for everything that we do. Is we want to make sure that we're saying the right words, because then it doesn't matter what we're throwing up on our website, our sales presentations, our decks, our in-home presentations, whenever you guys are inside of there. If it's not a cohesive message, that's where you're going to miss the mark. And so I think one overarching thing also to take into account with all of this is it only works based upon your level of execution. So like you said earlier, like if we're just using this on the website, but your sales guys aren't using this whenever they're door knocking, or the sales team's not using it, or your CSRs aren't using it when they answer the phone, like whatever it is, you're not using this in your email marketing and your other messaging that you do, it's going to be not cohesive. And so it's not going to stick and land. You're not going to know if it's actually working or not. The other part of this, to make sure, the only way that you can mess this up is if you are not clear, and it creates more confusion, because the whole point of this is to create clarity in your marketing messaging, or it's not cohesive. So if you are talking about what your customers want and you are not relating that to the problem that you solve. So let's use like a plumber, for example. If you're talking about your customers want clean water at home because maybe you're trying to sell like water purification systems or something like that, but then the problem is they've got old pipes. Well, those are still problems that you deal with and things those customers may want that you can still do those, but those two services don't connect, right? So one of the things to do with this is when we're starting off with this, I want people to understand you can start one of two ways. One, start with what your customers want, or two, you can start with the main problem they're coming to you with, because if the problem is they are dealing with, then you just kind of reverse engineer it and you know, well, what do they really want from that? What I see every industry mess with this part here is they think that their customers want their products and services. They don't. Nobody wants a personal trainer. Nobody wants an accountant. Nobody wants a doctor. What they want is they want to pay less money in their taxes. What they want is to look better with their shirt off. What they want is improved health markers. And so I think where a lot of businesses miss the mark is they're trying to sell, like you said, those products and services and say, oh, this is what, it's like whenever all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Like, of course you want this type of shingle, or of course you want this XYZ insert service here, because that's all that you have to sell. But if you really want to stand out and break through the noise, what you have to do is you have to think about this from your customer's perspective, and how would this product or service that you want to sell them, how would your customers view that as something that they want? Or what problem that your customers or potential customers are dealing with would this help them to solve? Instead of trying to sell products and services, think about it that way. Either start with what customers are coming to you, like, oh yeah, I want this, or man, I'm dealing with this, and then you reverse engineer, because those two things have to be in sync. And I will tell you, with this whole brand scripting process, identifying what it is your customers actually want, or what problem they're actually dealing with, is where you will spend most of your time. It's the most one that requires the most focus, because when you know those things, everything else falls in line, because it's really easy to reverse engineer it. So the other thing that I will, go finish your thought. Yeah. One last thing with this is to understand, because the other thing that I get pushback from this all the time, well, Mike, you don't understand. We do tons of different products and services. Like, we can't just identify one thing our customer wants or one problem. That's where, again, understand what this is. This is a messaging framework. So your business, especially like, let's say a plumber, right? They might have a lot of different things from, residential to commercial to in-home water treatments to drain cleaning, like tons of different things. Well, yeah, all those customers are going to want several different things. That's great. Once you understand the framework, then you can plug individual products and services into this. So what we always help customers understand is use the framework to create the overarching brand narrative of what the overarching thing that your customers want, problems and stuff like that is. Then you use this same framework when you are discussing individual products and services and stuff that you sell. So it doesn't have to be like you only have to pick one of these things and, man, I'm a plumber and now all I can only sell is drain cleaning. Like, no. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but it's understanding the framework. And I think that is the big unlock factor, is whenever you start understanding frameworks and systems, that's whenever things not only unlock in your marketing, but overall with all of your business.
So before we continue on the journey of these 7 items, I want you to hit on this. Price, like, I just want to compete on price, like the race to the bottom, that a lot of these home services are like, gosh, I create prices just because that's what is competitive in the industry, versus a lot of what you're talking about is creating a differentiation that separates us from the competitors. So we try to create this blue ocean. If you could just speak to just maybe that monkey brain of someone just saying, if their immediate response was, what does my customer want? My customer wants the job done right and for cheap. And then they try to compete on pricing. They say they don't want to compete on pricing, but yet sometimes that's what they do. If you could just kind of speak to that a little bit in your terms, just riff on that, and then we can obviously continue on the journey.
Yeah. So with that, if you don't clarify your message and you don't use this to talk in your customers' words, it is going to be a race to the bottom, because then it's going to be very easy to price shop you with everybody else. So again, if you are trying to sell, just because I just said it, the water treatment systems, right? And you are just trying to sell a in-home water treatment system as a plumber, right? Everybody's trying to do that. They're just price shopping you. But if you then, instead of selling a water treatment system, if you instead sell clean water and better health markers to families, that sounds a lot different. And so you're selling the same thing, but how you talk about it and how you position it instantly elevates you above everybody else, because everybody else is trying to sell features. You want to sell benefits. So the difference between a feature and a feature is typically the deliverable, the thing that they're getting. What you want to do is you want to focus on benefits, and then you tie a feature to it. So for example, in that same scenario, most plumbers are going to go into a house and be like, oh, well, yeah, we're going to install this reverse osmosis water softener machine. It's going to do all this amazing things. Your water is going to taste better. It's going to be great for you. And they're going to talk about all the features that the machine actually does. One that wants to distinguish themselves and be able to charge premium price markers is going to go in there and talk about how it's going to improve the quality of your skin, how it's going to remove the toxins and chemicals that are inside of your water, because you actually know what you're putting inside of your body, and what you put inside is just important what you put on. And so they're going to be talking about all the benefits that you're going to get, not from the features. So if you're just focusing on price, it is a race to the bottom, and you are going to lose that one, whether it be you can't go low enough where your business shuts down because it's not profitable anymore. And so the way to make sure that you're standing out is truly talking about the problems your customers are dealing with, be benefit focused and benefit led, but use the words your customers are speaking.
Yeah, super, super helpful. Nice job, Sean. I love that. Anything else you want to hit on with number one before we pivot to number two?
No, that's great.
Okay. So number two, external problem of blank, internal problem of blank, philosophical problem of blank. To your point, each like service that I might offer might have a different problem that I'm solving. You know, the lights that I'm putting in my patio in the back is solving a problem for when I entertain my guests, but the pathway lights I'm putting up my walkway is for safety, so I feel safe when I'm walking up my driveway. So I want to make sure that we're hitting on how, any context that you want to bring into helping them solve these problems. And then what I'd also like to invite, if possible, is what is the ROI for anybody listening? Like, how can I measure that this is working? Because all this sounds really great in theory, and I get it, Sean. Yeah, I want to make sure I have like these 7 steps in my business, but is it going to yield results? And if so, how will I know it's actually yielding some results? Like, what's the ROI I can expect, and how will I know it's actually working?
Great question. So the first one, easy one with the different problems and talking about that, you need to understand what it is and how to use them. So for one, each level deep that you go, you connect more with your audience. So using the lighting example, the main external problem is the main thing they're dealing with. Man, I want to add lights in the back patio. Well, why? The deep problem is, I'm frustrated. The external problem is the patio is too dark. The internal problem is, how does that make you feel? It's like, man, I'm just frustrated because I work so hard, but I'm not able to go outside and enjoy my backyard. I've spent all this money building this house, and now my backyard just kind of flat. So I'm frustrated by that. The philosophical is where you truly connect. And that's where it's like, man, you deserve to live in a backyard oasis, something like to where you're connecting it to where like, yes, that's what I want. Or, have a backyard that makes your neighbors jealous, things like that. Whenever we talk in those types of words, that's what gets customers to connect with us a lot more, because that's where it leads to the next part, to where it's empathetic. You want customers, the more clearly you articulate the problems that your customers are dealing with, the more they automatically assume you have the answer to the solution. So if you're able to use your customers' words and explain the main thing that they're dealing with in a way that they say inside of their head, they're going to think, oh, wow, he thinks just like me. He must have the solution for it. So that's the one thing with this is understanding you got to use your customers' words, and you got to deal in those different levels. The next is the great question, ROI. It doesn't matter if any of this stuff that we do, if it's not going to make us more money. And I think that this also serves as a foundational issue that most businesses, especially smaller local businesses, they don't know because they don't track. So with this sounds really good, like you said, Mike, but how do we know if it's actually making us money? Well, first you got to know what your baseline is. So I think that if you haven't been tracking your metrics, how all of this stuff should impact and influence it is it kind of works in two ways. One, we should see a pretty direct correlation to getting more calls booked and everything just by improving the calls to action on our website. So we should be able to initially look at conversion metrics. Are we getting more leads coming in because we've created lead generators on our website with that transitional call to action? Or are we getting increasing our conversions on the website because now we have a more clear direct call to action? If before the website just said contact us, and then we updated the call to action to be more clear and direct, and it said book your free estimate, did we see a conversion metrics increase from that? The other aspect is less to see a quick return on it because it's an aspect of branding. It's like, how much does a good logo mean? Well, it's going to see a long time before that branding actually starts sticking with people, whether it's used on billboards, truck wraps, and stuff like that. The same thing is with your messaging. It's only going to work based upon the level of your execution of the thing. So it doesn't matter if you have all these talking points, if whenever you're on the job site, people are answering the phone, they're using different messaging and it's not going through this. It's going to be really hard to track because it's not one of those things that you've done consistently. Like using the fitness example, right? If you can have the world's greatest meal plan and nutrition program, but if you're not following it and if it's not used every single day, it's going to be really difficult to see an ROI on it. But once you do use it, you will see growth because clarity always wins. A confused customer is not going to buy more than a customer that understands exactly what it is that you do.
So helpful. Nice. Again, nice job, Sean. This is great. By the way, listener, if you're not like taking some notes, you might want to go back, and we're only on number 2, and Sean's just spitting some really great. I mean, you're getting a masterclass in not only just building a story brand framework, but all the questions, like the sub questions, like how you want to have these features and benefits. Great, hitting on those benefits is the external, but how's it make you feel if you don't have these things? Like you don't solve these problems. How's it gonna make you feel? You said frustration for that one. Great. Well, you deserve to live with blank, like living in an oasis that makes your family jealous, right? This is awesome. Really, 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 really great stuff. Anything else you want to hit on number 2 before we go to number 3?
No, I would say the most important thing is nailing the problem, because once you understand this part, this will also be the driver for the hook for a lot of the content that you create, especially on social and stuff. If you want really good hooks for short form social media content or anything that grabs people's attention, people are always scanning the world or environment for solutions to problems. So the more that you talk about problems, different viewpoints on that problem, this provides a really good hook to start all of your social media videos off of to get people engaged to watch the rest of your content.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's something that you are pretty strong at. I think Ali mentioned that as something. I don't know all the details of all your socials and how you're positioning yourself in the marketplace. If you want to just like self promote, like kind of what you have done using some of this stuff for yourself real quick, I mean, you totally can. But
yeah, no, I mean, this is. I like teaching people this because whenever I was growing up, there was this show. I remember growing up, it was like. Secrets Revealed or something like that, and it was like all this like secret magician was showing you how all the magic tricks were done, and then you would watch the illusion, like, oh, that's amazing, that must be like super good, and then you find out like the trick was really done with just like a mirror and a curtain and some lighting and how they, and you're like, oh, well, then it's not that special. I'm kind of ruining marketing here because when you understand all of this, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. Whenever you start thinking about what you're thinking about, man, why did I just watch this social media video? Like, why did I click on that ad? You're going to start realizing they're probably using a variation of this framework. They probably hooked you with a really good problem. They gave you a simple 3-step plan to take action. They showed you that they connect and relate with you, and that that they've solved this problem for people before, and that this is what you can experience when you do work with them. You're like, oh. And then once you know the magic trick, it's just like, it's not as exciting, but then it should be exciting because you're like, oh, I can do that too. I don't need the big mirror, huge lighting studio to do the magic trick. It's really simple. I just need these 7 things.
That's awesome. Let's go to number 3. We solved that problem with blank, and that's with blank is meaning we solve that problem with this type of audience, very people like you. Is that what that blank is implying?
No. So the third part is what we call the guide section. What we do, So with guide, what we want to do on that one is that's where we talk about ourselves finally. So with most of this marketing, creating these talking points, again, it's not your story. It's not about you. This is the only part of the messaging where we do want to talk about ourselves, but not about the history of the company, It's none of that stuff. What we want to do is we want to create two different talking points about ourselves and about our brand. The first one is empathy. We want to have some types of empathetic statements to make our customers realize that we know what it's like to have that problem, or we've seen other people deal with this exact same thing. It shows that they're understood and that we understand these customers. The second talking points that we need is authority. Well, it doesn't matter if we're relatable. If we've never actually solved this and we don't know how to get this problem solved, we're not going to get the job. So what we want to do with this authority, this is where we have quotes, stats, case studies, testimonials, and success stories from clients that we've worked with in the past to prove that we can get this problem solved. Because with our talking points, again, by this point, we've told our customers exactly what they want. And then we've explained to them the problem that they're dealing with that's keeping them from getting what they want. So this is where we start to get them to say, okay, tell me a little bit more. You're talking my language, but can you actually help me solve this? So a great analogy that's always given with this is like a personal trainer and balancing the empathy and authority. Say you go to a personal trainer, you're like, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds, but I'm really struggling with ice cream cravings at night. And you have one trainer that's like super empathetic. It's like, oh, Mike, you know what? Me too. At night, I just get those sugar cravings and everything, and it's really difficult. There's actually an ice cream store right across the street. You want to go get some ice cream right now? Tons of empathy. Like, they understand the problem, zero authority to help you get the problem solved. On the flip side, you go to the same scenario with a personal trainer. Man, want to lose weight, got these ice creams. He's like, man, you just got to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice every single day. Look at these. You want abs like this? Like, super authoritative, right? Great results, but no empathy. What we want in our marketing and our messaging is we want to balance the two things. We want to show, man, you know what? I used to struggle with that exact same thing. At night, I'd get those sugar cravings and everything. And it wasn't until I did XYZ here until I was really able to cut the cravings and start seeing results. And now not only did it work for me, but it's actually worked for hundreds of other clients that I've worked with. Here's some case studies. Here's some success stories, testimonials, all the things. And that's what we want to talk about in our marketing and everything. So same thing, like, if you're a roofer, a plumber, HVAC, all of those things and everything, we want to show empathy about, man, we understand how frustrating it is to deal with shady contractors, or man, we know exactly what it's like to have a repair done on your home, but it not be done to the standard it needed to. We're going to show something to customers like, okay, yeah, they get common problems with my, XYZ industry here. But then we also want to highlight that with authority. With local service businesses, one of the biggest cases for authority is your GBB or your Google business profile, and getting those Google reviews on Yelp, Trustpilot, those third-party sources and everything. That's a great way to showcase that and making sure that you're standing out online. Not only does that help with SEO and the local Google, local map pack rankings and everything, but how you want to leverage those on your website is we want to get specific results, because you probably have, if you're in the home service business, you probably have hundreds or thousands. Like, we got some plumbers that we work with that have like almost 4,000 reviews. Like, you're gonna have a ton of reviews, but we want to highlight specific ones on our website. And what we want to do is we want to grab them and talk about the specific result. Instead of just saying Bob's Plumbing was, really nice, we want to be like, man, I was struggling with this. I called 3 other plumbers. They gave me these crazy estimates. They came out immediately. They fixed this problem within 2 hours. Like, a very specific result that you got after working with them. That's what we want to do in this third section, is after we've identified what our customers want, the problems that's preventing them, we position ourselves as a guide with empathy and authority to show them how we can help them solve that problem.
I want to go off on a tangent for just a moment. We're going to come back.
Do it.
All right. Speak to this business that wants to generate those types of reviews, right? I know something that we help our clients with is on the after the job is done, we have a 12-month nurture sequence, and in there is asking for referrals, asking for reviews, reminding of an ascension offer, like a service agreement will come back out, just double check the work under a 1-year labor warranty. So we have that, but a big piece of that is, like you said, generating those reviews. And I feel like sometimes there's not a really great system that some listeners of the show might have. So if you want to speak to how are you generating those in the easiest way possible, and how are you training your client, or how is the service business train the homeowner, I should say, because your client is not the homeowner. So how is the service business train the homeowner to like kind of put in the review what they want? Because that's kind of what I heard you say is like, I kind of want a specific type of review. And that requires maybe a little bit of coaching potentially on, hey, could you put this in the review? So maybe I overheard that, or I didn't hear that correctly. But if you want to speak to anything that has to do with the Google My Business page, SEO, generating reviews, generating the right types of reviews, anything underneath that as we go on this pivot and tangent, that would be awesome. And then we'll come right back to
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, love it. So if you do not ask, you will not receive. So if you are not getting Google reviews, you are probably not asking. And most businesses are asking, they're saying they're asking, oh yeah, all of our techs, all of our service guys, they all ask for Google reviews. Do they? People get busy, they got to get to the next job and everything. So the best way to make sure that it happens is to automate it. We want to have some type of consistent process where we're asking this. Whenever we're doing this, what we want to do and what we have found is when you ask the first time, unless you are right there, most likely they're not going to do it. If it's an automated message and they get one ask for the Google review, you're probably only going to get about 30% of the people to leave a review on that first ask. So when the best way to get the review is how, like a lot of the home service guys that we work with, they'll do it. They'll have like a little clipboard where they can scan a QR code whenever they're right there with the customer as part of their checkout process, or one of those like tap to review type things. And it takes them directly to the Google Business Profile listing, not like a survey or anything like that. I personally am not a big fan of like gatekeeping the reviews. Like there's a lot of ways that you can do that to where they'll like ask a survey. And then if it's a 5-star, then it sends them the review. Just ask for the reviews. You need more reviews. Every business needs more reviews. And so what we want to do is we want to ask for the review right then. And then you said an amazing thing, Mike. What we want to do is we want to coach the customer on what we want to say. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to serve you today. Hey, I would love the opportunity if you could just give us let us know if we gave you 5-star service today. And if so, I'd really love you to talk about how we helped you with your drain cleaning, or how we really helped patch the new roof today. And you just tell them the things. So you kind of want to coach them. You can't tell them, hey, Mike, I want you to leave a 5-star and say Sean was a good tech and he patched your roof in, Dallas. Like, we don't want to be that. But if we coach them just by kind of leading them to that, you're going to get better inputs for the reviews. At the end of the day, those little details help, but the ultimate thing that you're looking for is the 5-star review. So we do want to automate the process. And what we have found is we want to ask 3 times, 2 ways, 3 days apart. So let me explain that. The first thing that we're going to do is immediately whenever the review process is triggered, we want to ask for the review. So that might be the invoices. Like if you have something like a roof, right? That's a bigger thing. It's not like a home service call for the plumber, but maybe when the final invoice is paid, that's whenever we want to trigger the initial ask. We are going to ask them 2 ways. We're going to send them a text, and we're also going to send them an email. Then what we're going to do is we're going to wait 3 days. If they haven't left us a review by that point, we're going to send them another text and another email. Again, just tweaking the messaging each time so it sounds a little different, so it's not the same repeated message. Then we're going to wait 3 days. And if they haven't left it again, we're going to ask a final time for a text and an email. With each one of these messages that we send out, what we have found specifically for local service businesses, when we highlight the fact that we're a locally owned business, it increases the conversions dramatically. What we have found on this 3 ask process is we get the majority. So we'll get probably 30% of the reviews that we get will be on that first ask. Then we'll get almost 50% of the reviews on the second ask. And then the 20% will be on the last. So it's that second ask is the most powerful. And the third is to catch everybody from that follow-up process, just in case they didn't leave it and everything. The words and the messaging that you use on that is very powerful. And so you said, if you want something awesome, everybody, what would be great is if there was a way where you could get the exact scripting messaging framework to plug into your business. Guess what? You can go to SeanGarner.co. It's SeanGarner.co. Scroll to the bottom of the page, click on Google Review Scripts, and we have that exact same framework and messaging thing and automation strategy that we have. It's a free downloadable guide. So you can take that, plug your businesses and your service, your business name and your services in there, and all the messaging for the text, emails, and everything, and how to set up the triggers is already done. Yep, scroll all the way down to the bottom right there, and it's going to be on the bottom right-hand side at the very bottom on the footer, and it's going to say Google Review Scripts right there. Yep, very bottom right there. Click on that, put in your name and email, and we will send it over to you. It's got the whole script. We even tell you about how to time them out and everything. And then another thing that we didn't even talk about is in this, the very first messaging script that we give you as well is we actually give you something to send to previous customers. So a lot of businesses, if they haven't automated this before, the very first message template that's inside that free guide that we give away is something that you can copy and paste, change it up, and send it out to previous customers. So that way there's context to the message of like, hey, I know we've worked with you in the past. Would love it if you give us a review. So you can use that to go for previous customers. Then you can build up the automation and the workflow for all the future customers going forward.
Oh yeah, and I just went ahead and did it, and you can see there took me to a redirect with a thank you page confirming, so I knew it was submitted. How many times do we fill out a form and nothing happens? So they're like left questioning, did this actually go through? And then there's a couple of videos right here of what to do next. Very, very clear. And then we could schedule a call right here very easily. And now what's nice is this is called owner-free intake. So while Sean is over here hanging out with us talking, he's positioning himself to get owner-free intake. People could hop on his schedule or someone on his team's schedule. Someone could inquire about free offers. Now I'm into his CRM, and now he could market to me with my permission because I just gave it. So there's so many things that are happening now behind the scenes while Sean is over here doing something else. And that's what we want everyone in the local service business world to be able to understand and do, because if you don't have this system set up, you're relying on Susie that's at the office at the desk to like manually go send this resource over to that new client and then call that client, and then hopefully they get in touch with each other, and then hopefully we can find a time that pins down a time that works with both schedules. It's just like so archaic. It's very 1900s, we'll say. And we want to bring your business to 2025. I know we're breezing through this, and at the same time, I'm looking at the time, and we both have a hard stop coming up. Anything else you want to say before I actually had a question that we didn't answer, we didn't ask, but can I ask my question real quick?
Yeah, go. Yeah.
So one of the things that we hear sometimes, especially in the outdoor lighting space, is that sometimes the client doesn't want to give the review until after the job is installed and they've already enjoyed the job for a little bit. So one of the things you said is we trigger it right after the final invoice, and then we wait 3 days, and then we wait 3 days, which is totally cool. So that essentially allows the homeowner, to use the service for a week, if I understood that correctly.
Yep. It's 9 days.
So 9 days. So if I understood that correctly, we're essentially giving the homeowner 9 days to use the service, and I want to make sure that we heard that. So that way that we're mitigating that objection of, I haven't used it yet. I don't know if there's a problem with it. Just because I had a good experience doesn't necessarily mean you actually solved the problem. What if it starts leaking in day 5, or it's actually not solved? So not to say that's a huge concern, but I could totally see someone potentially giving a pushback on that. However, this is why I bring it up. Is it okay getting a review for their experience thus far compared to the experience on how the job was a year from now or something like that? Do you want to speak to that at all, or?
Yeah. So there's several ways that I would approach that specific question. So one, remember, even if I said it about the messaging framework, everything that I do is frameworks and strategies. Like just like because I was in the fitness industry for so long, I relate a lot of stuff to that. There's not a one size fits all. So what I just shared with the 3 ask 3 days apart is a strategy and a framework. The point of it is you're going to have to at least ask them 3 different times to make sure that you're following them up with them. How you pace those out may be different based upon your industry, or what you can even do is you could even have another trigger for you that has it a month after, 6 months after, if they still haven't followed up with you. Because how we typically build this out, like if we were automating it, is we put all the Google reviews in a pipeline. So just like you have a CRM tool that has a sales pipeline, we have a review tracking pipeline. So everybody that leaves a review, we just track it, and we can just have this Kanban style board where we're just dragging people to different stages. And then based upon them clicking the links in the review, leaving the review, confirmed review, we can drag that on there. So then that way, at any time, if we want to go back on reviews, we can follow up with them at any time to ask for the reviews. Because what you could do in that same scenario, Mike, is I want the review as quickly as possible. And then maybe what we do to double up on it is then we follow back up with maybe a Yelp review, or we follow back up with a video testimonial review, because we need all the things, right? If we got every client to give us a Google review, a Yelp review, a Trustpilot review, and a video review, like there's 4 reviews right there. And especially things like a roof that's only going to have once every, 15, 20 years, they're not going to have like consistent jobs like a medical spa or something like that might be. So I would find different ways to ask, or in different platforms to ask.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you hit on that. And I wanted to just make a technical question real quick. That that is manual when you're moving them in the pipeline. So you have to match the name and the email from the Google review to the CRM, or do you have a software like we use Go High Level?
Yep.
So is there a way to have Go High Level using like some sort of Zap or some sort of tool or integration that is able to actually see if that profile left a review? I'm just curious on that
So
piece.
yeah, we'll get techie and dorky here just for a
Yeah,
second.
please do.
How we do that, because we use a white label of high level that we call story growth funnels that we merge specifically for local service business owners. How we create it is, so from a back end is we create our different pipeline stages in like the Kanban style board. Then what we do is we make the review link be a trigger link. So that way, whenever it sends out in a text or an email, when they click the link, it moves them to the link click stage of the pipeline. Because I will say that part does have to be manual to confirm the review.
That's what I was asking.
Because a lot of times people's name or their Gmail may be different than what is actually the customer email. So you do have to have some type of a manual QA response for that. You can have them move if they click the link, but just because they click the link doesn't mean the review sticked. So what we do is on a like a every day or every other day process. I mean, depends on the volume of the business. Most businesses could probably get away with like once a week, depending on their volume. Just go into the pipeline, and then everybody that left a review, you're obviously replying to the review, and that's how we do it. Whenever we're replying to the review, we just go and move the stage of the pipeline.
That's great. Yeah, I wasn't. That manual seems like the only solution that we found too.
Yeah.
I do like what you said, where it's like we can see everyone who clicked it,
Yeah.
which
Because
is
that does at least distinguish it a little bit,
a
because then
little
you're
bit,
only
a little
looking
bit.
through people that click the link versus the thousands of people that maybe got triggered at
Correct.
the
And
review.
some people might have scanned the QR code on the clipboard, which doesn't necessarily move them.
Correct.
There's always a little bit of nuance there, but we can try to get 80% of the way with some sort of automation. So
Correct.
I absolutely love that. Let's keep going on this journey.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so good, and I know listeners are going to be in touch with you for sure. So we solved the problem. So we went through we showed them we're a guide. Customers want this.
Yep.
External problem of three things: internal, external, internal, philosophical. Hey, we're a guide. You could trust us. We have empathy and we have authority. And now we're on number four, which is here's the
The
plan.
plan. Yeah.
Simplest
Yeah.
way. These are the three steps.
Yeah. So with this there's typically, because I know we got time, so I'm going to rush through the last here. So with the plan section is we want it to be clear. As you're writing this, as you're creating a brand script, as you are creating your plan section, it should seem overly simplified to you, because that's what you want your customers to go, is that oh, that's it. That's all I have to do. We want it to be very simple. So there's typically two different types of ways that you can create this plan. Number one is the type of plan that they need to do in order to do business with you. So the easy way to create your plan section is, number one, start with your direct call to action. 3, end with the happily ever after. So 2 is what has to happen in between there. So if number 1 is they schedule their free assessment or their free inspection, and number 3 is they have confidence that the roof is secure, well, what's step 2? Step 2 is we do our 360 home and our roof maintenance plan, like whatever your second step is right there. That's what we want to do. So the first type of plan that you create is the plan for customers to do business with you. The second type of plan that you can create is your process. So for example, with us, we have our 3-step process is you schedule a call, we create a custom marketing plan, we execute so you can dominate. Like that's our plan to do business with you. Now, our process of how we do that is we build, fill, and optimize sales funnels. So step 1 is we build sales funnels. Step 2 is we then help you to fill your sales funnel. And then step 3 is then we optimize it. So that's our process that we have. Your business, you may feel like it has a lot more steps in it. You can go up to 5, but the more steps that you get removed from a very simple 3-step plan, the more confusing it is. You are going to lose customers because you want it to seem simple. So this would be one of those sections of it as well, to where you do want to spend time to show how simple it is for people to do business with you. And a lot of times it is just that basic. Schedule your assessment. We create a custom plan. You enjoy the happily ever after. Like it's literally just that simple with creating the plan.
Awesome. I know we obviously could keep parking, but let's keep going. So call them to action. Be direct.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I want you to do. Click below. Book this call. Now I want you to be explicit here, because sometimes they have a lead magnet where it's like, almost like two CTAs. We want the lead magnet, but we also want them to book a call, and the lead magnet directs them to the call, but they also have the two options as well. So how do we make sure we don't muddle the call to action? And we could speak to both those audience, like opt in for my stuff and book a call if you're qualified. But we also don't want so many non-qualified people booking calls either. I know Jen even put that in the chat. It's like we have a bunch of riffraff that comes through, and we don't just want everyone booking calls, especially if they're like not, a potential prospect.
Perfect. Yeah. So there's two different types of calls to action that you create, and I'll also show you how to qualify people. So the two different types of calls to action that you create is number one is a direct and two is a transitional. So a direct call to action, this is, if anybody takes an action step from this call, do this one thing. Go to your website and make sure that you have a clear, direct call to action that is consistent across every part of your homepage. And it is in the top right of your header, which is when the page first loads, it's in the top right. And then it's also again repeated in the center of the page. So it says the exact same thing 2 times before you have to scroll. Then make sure it is used the exact same way every other place on your website and every other place that they scroll. So a direct call to action is going to be schedule your call, book your assessment, book your free inspection, schedule a complimentary consultation call. It is something that we want by now. It's the main thing we want them to do. It is not the worst calls to action, which is what most businesses have, is contact us or learn more. That's not a direct call to action. Direct is the very specific, explicit thing they need to do to get in contact with you, to start doing business with you, to buy your products and service. The second call to action that we have is what we call the lead generator, or the transitional call to action. Not everybody that comes to your website or your marketing material is going to be ready to buy and commit right there. So we have a transitional call to action. This is where we have a lead generator, which is something that we position ourselves of value for an exchange of information. That's for the people that aren't ready to buy right now, but you have piqued their curiosity. You say, okay, I think that they can solve my problem, but I'm not ready to commit now to scheduling a call, booking my consultation, all of those things. So we want to create something of value to grab a name, email, phone number, so we can follow back up with them, because we've had people that have identified themselves as potential leads. Quick ways to create this lead generator is number one, it's got to have a clear and catchy title. It doesn't want to be clickbaity, but it needs to have a clear and catchy title to get people intrigued to wanting to get it. The second thing that it should do is it should position you as the expert and the guide for them. They need to understand, with that empathy and authority with this lead generator, that you are a good guide for them to help them solve this problem. And then the third thing that it should do is it should either give them a quick win or solve the first part of their problem that they're dealing with. So it could be something like a checklist of 10 things that you need to know before you replace your roof, or do I need to replace my roof, or can I repair it? Things to know, what I should 10 things I should know before I do an in-home water treatment. Like, there's tons of different ways you can brainstorm them, but it needs to follow those 3 things: clear and catchy title, position you as an expert, and then it gives them a quick win, or the first step in the process. Those are the different calls to actions, and we want it to be consistent across the website. So if we are saying book your or schedule a free call as our direct call to action, we don't want to say schedule our free call, then further on down the page, book a consultation, then further on down is schedule a complimentary assessment. Like, use the exact same verbiage all throughout the website and all throughout your marketing. Then, to answer the question specifically about how do I get people that are bad leads not to book calls, that's where, if the more gates we make customers walk through, the more it's going to limit leads. So if we're getting unqualified calls to book a call first, if we're just getting calls booked, hey, that's a win, right? But if they're the wrong ones, we want to gatekeep it a little bit. So that's where we can ask some qualifying questions in the scheduling process to make sure that we are attracting the right kind of people. Like for us, for example, if you don't have a business, we're not the right marketing agency for you. We joke, we're not for entrepreneurs, we're for entrepreneurs. You actually have the business and it's up and running, and you're looking to grow and scale it and dominate it that way. So ask those qualifying questions, and you can limit those people that you're getting in.
Real quick, a lookbook. I know that doesn't necessarily hit the checklist or things to know before I blank, but for like a luxury service, is giving a lookbook as a lead magnet to give some sort of inspiration of type of work that your home could look like. Does that kind of satisfy some of that lead magnet stuff? Just curious on your opinion.
Yeah, we have actually are building this out right now for a garage door company, to where we've got this AI tool that we're building out for them, to where people can take a picture of their home and they can see what different garage doors are going to look like for their home as they're picking it out. As long as it is something of value that gives them a quick win or the first step of the process, which a lookbook or like an AI generator garage door thing would, yes.
Awesome. I just want to get your opinion on that. All right. Last two is failure if they struggle without us and success with us. And we have less than 2 minutes for this because we've got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Too. We could either try to cram it in.
This is the easiest one. I'll knock this out quick. So here's the deal. This is all the bad stuff they're going to continue to deal with and all the good things they're going to experience after they do work with you. Whenever you're doing this with marketing, your failure and success, they have to be in a good proportion. So we need to think about it like baking a loaf of bread. When we're making a loaf of bread, there's a ton of flour in it, but just a pinch of salt. The salt is the flavor. That's your failure section. So we don't want to be fear mongering with all the bad stuff that they're dealing with, but we do want to have a little pinch to remind them about their current situation and their problem that they're dealing with and what they're going to continue to deal with. The flower is the success. We want loads of it. We want, all the amazing things that they're going to happen immediately 6 months from now and then ongoing once they've done business with you. With your failure, keep it short and keep it sweet, keep it personal, and those feeler words of things that they're dealing with right now and may continue dealing with a couple months down the road. Don't be like, oh man, if you don't do this, you're going to die alone in a nursing home. Nobody's going to love you. It's like so fear mongering. We're not fear mongering. We're not future casting fear. We're just reminding them of the current thing that they're dealing with and how working with us will get that problem solved for them.
Sean, so good. People are going to want to stay in touch with you. But tell us, we ask every guest the exact same question. What does it mean to you to be better than rich?
I'm a Christian. And so the Bible says, what is it? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his own soul? So for me, is like for better than rich is knowing where I'm going in eternity. And for me, it's just having that relationship with Jesus. So a Christian, that's what I believe. And so it's not about those things. It's about the eternal things.
Dude, so grateful for your time, man. And I hope this is just the first conversation, or I guess second, because we already kind of met once before, but so grateful for what you're going to bring. SeanGarner.co. You already gave us that site. Is that where people should go if they want to stay in touch? Is there anything else you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, best thing was just Sean Garner, SeanGarner.co. I'm on there. We got the Marketing Domination podcast. So I do weekly podcasts just like this. People can go check that out. There's tons of free stuff. We talked about the Google review guide. We got tons of other templates, wireframes on how to structure home pages for conversions, all kinds of free stuff on the bottom of the page down there. Download the things, learn. And if any of this stuff resonated, you're like, yes, I want these strategies implemented in my business. Love the opportunity to connect with you guys. Go on there, book a call. And guess what? It's actually going to be with me. So we'll do a complete audit and review of your current website, things are going, and see if it makes sense for us to work together.
Absolutely crushed it, man. Thank you so much. And just so you know, because I don't have time to go into the green room with you since we both have hard stops. I'm going to be communicating. We had about 25 to 30 experts in this season, and I want to collaborate. I want to bring them all into similar space so that way they could share best practices, what they're seeing in the industry, maybe even share resources or tools, or maybe referrals or whatnot. So by being a guest on the show, it's not just adding value to our audience. I also want to add value to you and to other businesses and other guests. So be on the lookout for something that's going to be happening sometime in 2026. And then just thank you so much, brother, for your wisdom. And if there is anything I could do to add to your listeners, your followers, flip the script or whatever, I'd love that. So listener, thank you for listening to the show. Sean, thanks for being here. And as always, leave today better than you found it. We'll see you next time on the Better Than Rich Show. Cheers. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at betterthan_rich and join our Facebook group at the Better Than Rich Show. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, leave today better than you found it.